Welcome to Betty King International Ministries and our Word and Prayer series. We greet you in the name of Abba Father and our senior pastor, the Reverend Betty King. This is the day that the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Thank you for joining us in our third conversation centered around the word grief. Now, in our first conversation, we got to look at it from the perspective of the one who left. And in our second conversation, we got directed to where hope and comfort comes from. And in this conversation, we get to embark on our final goodbye in something that I like to call the last ride. Now, when we look at the words the last biblically, it gives us an idea of where we need to explore. So biblically, the last means his humble followers who make great sacrifices for the gospel. Now, in the natural, when most of us hear the words the last ride in relation to the losing or the passing of a loved one, we think about the procession to the graveyard. We think about the car. We think about the people. We think about the service. And while all of that is well intentioned, it leaves us with a void and emptiness as we begin to hope and pray that our loved one is seated in heaven. But the last ride puts a full stop on that earthly journey. And what if, just what if, that was the beginning? Would you explore it with me today? If we go to John chapter 10, verses 28 through 31, in the New King James Version, it reads, "And I give them eternal life, and they shall never perish, neither shall anyone snatch them out of my hand. My Father, who has given them to me, is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of my Father's hand. I and my Father are one." Now, do you mind if we explore that just a little? You see, in verse 28, we see the compassion that is provided to the questioner. So in those times, the questions come up and you're seeking the answer. And this one says clearly, "And I give them eternal life." Now in verse 29, we then see the guarantee. "My Father, who has given them to me, is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of my Father's hand." That's pretty final, okay? And then in verse 30, "I and my Father are one." You see how they quieten the inquisitive mind. It's just amazing. But still, even though we have that, we want to see kind of the finality and the reassurance. And if you allow me to walk into Matthew chapter 5, verse 4, in the New King James Version, you'll see that just in case you needed an additional description or narrative, we find a very simple but a very powerful verse. And it says, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." Simple, but it tells you everything that you need to know. So I pray today that as we've walked into this series about grief, that you have been able to look at it from the perspective of the one that has left. that you've been able to find in the message where you can find comfort, where you have been directed to find hope, and that the words that are written here are so final that it's written for you to see in these chapters. I pray that in your quiet time, that this gives you a place of solace, a place where you can go to turn to and find direction and hope. To God be the glory alone. Thank you for joining us in this word and prayer series. I hope that the Lord continues to love and protect you. Until next time, be blessed.